So last lecture we have started this chapter, basic electronics. We first understand the what is the semiconductor material, what is the characteristic, and then after we see the construction of diode, how diode is working, its construction, and then VI characteristic of the diode, how it is operated in forward bias mode and how it is operated in the reverse bias mode. Yes. So I think it is clear to all that the operation of diode is clear to all from the last lecture. All of you, is there any doubt in the last lecture to anyone?
No.
Okay, so next we see the application of this diode as a rectifier. So in this lecture we understand the operation of diode rectifier. As you already classify that two types of rectifier, half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier. This is a basic circuit diagram of power supply provided by this rectifier circuit. So next is, please mute your mic please. જે લોકોનું માઇક ચાલુ છે પ્લીઝ મ્યુટ કરી દો પ્લીઝ. Okay, so rectifier circuit basically converts your AC supply into DC supply using one or more PN junction diode. So two types of rectifier, half wave and full wave rectifier. In full wave there are two types, center tap rectifier and bridge type of rectifier. So let's see the operation of half wave rectifier. We already discussed this in the practical hours. Okay, so it is clear all of you to how to get this circuit diagram and how to get the output voltage by using the half wave rectifier. It is clear to all, or I repeat again. બધાને ખ્યાલ આવી ગયો છે? Or I repeat this?
Sir, एक बार repeat कर दो.
Okay, okay. So you can see here our main supply AC supply is here applied to the transformer. Okay, what is the function of transformer here? To step down the voltage. Here, suppose assume that I want the 5 volt DC from the 230 volt AC supply. Yeah, as you know that at our home we have 230 volt AC supply. Yeah, so when you generally connect the mobile charger or your laptop charger, so basically what these chargers have, they have convert this single phase AC high voltage 230 volt AC into low voltage AC. Clear? Suppose if you're talking about the mobile charger, suppose your load is here mobile charger, so that requires a 5 volt. Clear? So this transformer convert 230 volt to the 12 volt or 5 volt. Clear? Then after this 5 volt is converted into DC by using this rectifier circuit. Yeah. So here you can see that in this rectifier we have used only one diode. Yeah. And it is connected with the upper terminal of anode is connected with the upper terminal and lower terminal through this load that is connected with the negative terminal. Clear? Or lower terminal of the secondary winding of this transformer. Yeah. Secondary side voltage, it is ES is equal to ESM sine omega t. ESM is the maximum value of this secondary side voltage. Now, as we already know that in the VI characteristic, the diode will conduct only in the forward bias mode. Forward bias mode means when you apply the positive voltage at anode, it means this point, with respect to cathode, only in this period remains start the conduction. Clear? It also remains conduction in reverse bias mode, but it is very dangerous because in the reverse bias mode, because of the avalanche breakdown, your diode will be damaged. Clear? So generally we not operate the diode in the reverse bias region. Clear? So always diode is operated in the forward bias region. It means first quadrant when you apply the positive voltage at anode with respect to cathode. So as you can see here, supply is first positive cycle, positive half cycle, then after negative half cycle will start. Yes. So same supply is transferred to the secondary side with the same phase. So first positive cycle, your upper terminal is positive and lower terminal is negative. It means your anode of this diode, this is connected with the positive of the supply. It means anode is more positive as compared to cathode. It means your diode come into the forward bias mode. Okay? So when diode come into forward bias mode, it acts as a closed switch. Okay? So whatever the secondary side supply here, all the secondary voltage ES that come across this load side. because your switch is act as a close. So current is transformed from secondary side to the load side, and whole voltage of the secondary come across this load side. So here secondary voltage is ES, same voltage come across this load resistance RS. Okay? And its wave shape is same as your supply, this one. Okay? Negative half cycle, when it start after pi degree, so what will happen? Your upper terminal becomes negative because it changed the polarity. Supply is changed the polarity. So secondary side polarity is also changed. Here upper terminal becomes negative and lower terminal becomes positive. Clear? Let's can see here the operation here. Suppose this is the circuit diagram during the negative half cycle. You can see here negative half cycle, upper terminal is negative, minus A terminal, and this is a plus B terminal. So at this time your diode come into the reverse bias mode, and we know that reverse bias mode your diode will not conduct. It is not conducting, it means what? Current cannot be flow. Current cannot be flow, it means your circuit is open. It acts as an open circuit. So now what is the output voltage in this case? Zero voltage, because there is no transfer of the voltage across this load side, or there is no current flowing into the load side. So there is a zero voltage drop across the, or zero voltage across this load resistance. So during the negative half cycle of the supply, when your diode is reverse bias mode, you get the zero voltage. All of you understand this concept? What is the waveform during positive half cycle and what is the waveform during the negative half cycle? You can see the both the case. First case is diode forward bias. At the output, you get the same as the supply waveform. You can see that supply is this one, positive pulse. Output load, you get all this positive pulse. But in negative half cycle of supply, between pi to 2 pi, you get the zero because your diode is open circuited. So output voltage is zero. It is clear up to this point, all of you? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there any
Yes,
doubt
sir.
to anyone? Okay, let's understand this graphically so you can, I think, easily understand it. So those who have not understand it clearly, please see this graphically. I show you the one video so that you can easily understand it graphically.
Today, we charge the batteries of our mobile.
Here in this video, we take the your mobile charger as a load. Yeah, it means you want to charge the mobile, you know that it requires the DC voltage. Okay, so here rectifier is convert AC to DC and charge your mobile. Here we use the half wave rectifier. Yeah. Let's see the application of this diode rectifier here as a mobile charger.
Mobile phones by directly connecting them to the socket. But here's the problem. If you were to directly take a couple of wires from the batteries and connect them directly to the socket and say close the switch, then your phone will probably blow up because the voltage that you get from here is very high. You may have already learned it's about 200 volts. But even if you could solve the problem of the voltage, maybe we could somehow lower the voltage. Even then, your battery will not get charged. There's a very good chance your battery will just get spoiled. And the reason for that is because the current that we get from the socket, from the wall, is an alternating current, which means the charges are going to keep changing their direction of flow. So once they'll flow maybe clockwise, and then maybe they'll flow anti-clockwise. And as a result, when the current is flowing in one direction, your battery might get charged, but when it flows in the opposite direction, it'll get discharged. It'll get charged and then discharged. And so your battery will not get recharged at all. It might even get spoiled. So in order to successfully charge the battery, we need to do two things. One is we need to lower the voltage. That's something we'll not focus on in this video. But the second thing is we need to convert this alternating flow into a direct flow, a one directional flow. And that's what we will see in this video, how to do that. All right, let's open the switch. And our first step is going to be to lower the voltage. And that's done by using a device called transformer. Now you may have already learned about this or may not. It doesn't matter because we don't really care about how this works. All this does is it lowers the voltage. That's all that matters. All right, we don't have to worry too much about what it is. So maybe the voltage over here is 200 volt alternating. The voltage that we might get over here would be 5 volt alternating. So that problem is solved. Don't worry too much about that. Now comes the big problem. the current that we're gonna get, if we close the switch, let me just do that. Let's just close the switch and see how our battery will get spoiled. And let's assume these blue dots represent positive charges inside the wire. Now, of course, in reality, it's the electrons, the negative electrons that are doing the motion. But since the direction of the current is the same as that of positive charges, let's just assume some kind of positive charges are moving in the wire. Then it would look something like this. This is what they will do. They'll once flow in the clockwise direction and then the anti-clockwise direction. Clockwise, anti-clockwise. Your battery is getting charged, discharged, charged, and discharged. And that's what we need to solve now. So let's open the switch. That's what we need to solve. So how do we do that? Well, one solution would be to hire someone, ask them to sit right next to the switch, and then ask that person to close the switch only when the current flows in the clockwise direction. Maybe that's what we want. Maybe that's when the battery gets recharged, let's say, and open the switch when the current tries to flow in the anti-clockwise direction. So it will look somewhat like this. So you close the switch when the current is flowing clockwise, and now it's about to flow anti-clockwise, open. Wait, close, clockwise, open. Wait, close, open. Easy, right? The battery will get charged, no problem. But you can see that this is not a very practical method. I mean, in fact, the current is alternating 50 times per second, and no one is going to be able to do that, right? If only we had a way to automate this. If only we had some kind of an automatic switch which only allows the current to flow this way, but not in the opposite direction, that would be awesome. But we do have a device, a PN junction diode. This is exactly what we want. It is something that only allows the flow of charges in one direction, but blocks the flow in the opposite direction. And we may not be very familiar with this circuit symbol. Sometimes people might tend to get confused that which side is P and which side is N. Well, remember this is the P side and this is the N side. But guess what? The circuit symbol is so great, you don't really have to think about which is P and which is N. You see, an electronic engineer doesn't even care which is P and which is N. Here's the way that person would think about it. You see, the arrow mark over here is telling us that this diode in this orientation allows the flow of charges upwards. All right, and it doesn't allow the flow of charges downwards. That's it. We don't even have to worry which is P and N. So if you want this diode to conduct, we have to put a positive here and negative here, forcing the current this way. If you put a positive here and negative here, well, the current won't flow. That's all. Think of it this way. Don't worry about the P and N when you look at a circuit symbol like this. All right, imagine we want the current to flow through our battery downwards. Can you think how should we attach this diode over here? There are two options. One, we might be able to attach, we should attach it this way, or we should attach it this way. Can you think about how to attach that? Pause the video for a while and think about it. All right, let's do this. Since we know that the current has to be downwards, only downwards, we only want the flow in the clockwise direction. That's what we want. So over here, we want the current only to flow towards the left. So if we orient our diode this way, oh no, that won't work because this diode will only allow the flow in the opposite direction. Oh, we don't want that. We want to keep our diode this way. Now, it'll only allow the charges to flow in this direction towards the left, but it won't allow the charges to flow towards the right. And there we have it. Now, if we close the switch, let's just go ahead and do that. So let's close the switch. Then when the current is trying to flow in the clockwise direction, our diode is going to conduct, and I'm going to give it a green signal. It's going to conduct. But now when the current tries to flow in the opposite direction, nope, it won't allow. The diode will not allow the flow. And so again, when it tries to flow in the clockwise direction, the diode conducts. And again, in the opposite direction, the diode doesn't conduct. And so now we have successfully converted AC to DC. And this process in electronics is called rectification. And the circuit is called as a rectifier. So this diode itself is a rectifier. It's something that converts AC to DC. It's fun to watch, right? And by the way, the green and the red color are only for our indications. The diode is not really glowing, don't worry. Okay, let's open the switch for a while. And what we'll do now is we'll draw a graph. Here it is. Our graph is going to be the current along the vertical versus time along the horizontal. And you might see there are two graphs over here. And the current, by the way, is the current through the battery. In the first graph, it will be without the diode, without rectifiers. The battery will get spoiled, but anyways, the graph. In the second graph will be with the diode. All right. So let's see again. Let's get rid of the diode for a while, and let's see what the graph would look like if we had just closed the circuit over here. So let's just go ahead and close that switch. Close that switch. We've already seen the charges will flow in both ways. Once it flows clockwise, and then it flows anti-clockwise. So what will the graph look like? Well, it's a graph of an alternating current. We'll call clockwise as positive, and let's call the anti-clockwise current as negative. Well, in that case, well, when the current is flowing in the clockwise direction, the current increases, becomes maximum, decreases, then goes to 0. Then the current starts flowing in the opposite direction, becomes maximum, goes to 0, again clockwise, anti-clockwise, and so on. You may have already seen this before, but this is alternating current. Okay, now let's see what happens with the diode on. So imagine we just close the switch now. What do you think the graph will look like? I want you to pause the video and try to think about this graph yourself. All right, let's see. So during the clockwise, the diode conducts, it allows the flow of charges. So the current flows through, you get an exact copy of what you had before. But now during the anti-clockwise direction, when it's trying to flow anti-clockwise, our diode doesn't conduct. It doesn't conduct, so the current is 0. Can you see that? The current is 0. Now again, during the clockwise direction, it'll conduct. And so you get that exact copy of what you had before. But during the anti-clockwise, it doesn't conduct. It doesn't conduct anti-clockwise at all, so you get 0 current. And so by looking at the waveform, you can clearly see that in the second case, the current is only flowing, in the positive direction, only clockwise flow. And so we will call this as the non-rectified current. And this is the rectified current. This is the rectified output current. Now notice that the current that is flowing here when the diode is placed in this waveform, notice that the circuit is only switched on during 1/2 of the cycle, right? It's switched off for the other half. The half that we don't want, we just turn off the circuit. Again, we turn on and we turn off. This circuit is, this rectifier is called as a half wave rectifier for obvious reasons. It only works during the positive half, the half that we need, and just switches off when we don't need it. All right. And so the problem with this is that your circuit is off for half the time, which means if you're charging your phone with this half-wave rectifier, and say your phone takes about 2 hours to charge, it means it was only, the phone was actually only charging for 1 hour. For the remaining 1 hour, it was just switched off. So a lot of time gets wasted. So of course, we need to improve upon our design. But anyways, you get the idea of how a rectifier even works now. And one last thing is, whenever I should look at the circuits like this, I used to always wonder, like, how come there are 2 wires coming out of the phone? There's only 1 wire coming out, right? Well, this is actually a schematic drawing. Okay, a more realistic circuit would look somewhat like this. Notice the circuit is exactly the same as before, but it is made more efficient so that you don't waste a lot of space. Notice that the wires are actually, there are 2 wires actually bundled together and they come out of the phone together. This is packaged together. And where do you think are these transformers and the diodes? Well, they are found inside the adapter that we use. That's right, it's all packaged. Of course, there are more stuff today because we have better rectifiers, so there'll be more stuff, but all of those things are packaged in that tiny adapter. And again, this is bundled together so that end users like you and me, we don't have to worry about the science behind it at all. We can just plug in and charge our phones. Amazing, isn't it?
So I think all of you understand this concept. Clear to all of you? The operation of half-wave rectifier? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is the waveform, the same waveform as we have just seen this video. Positive cycle, you get only the load current as well as load voltage, and both are in the same phase. You can see because here we take the resistive load. As you know that resistive load, voltage and current are in the same phase. And the last waveform is that is the voltage across the diode. So when voltage come across the diodes, when it is in off condition, when it is open circuit, clear? And so how much voltage come across the diode? So same as the supply voltage. Yes, so supply voltage, you can see that during the off condition of the diode, that is a negative voltage. At the secondary side, upper terminal A is negative as compared to B. So whatever the negative cycle of supply, same negative cycle of supply voltage you get across the load. You can see here the waveform of voltage across the load. Between 0 to pi, it is conducting, so there is no voltage across the diode because it is conducting. It is act as a closed switch, or it is act as a short circuit. Clear? So there is no voltage across the closed switch. When it is open, only at that time you get the voltage across the switch. And maximum negative voltage you get across the diode, this one, you can see this minus ESM, that is called as a peak inverse voltage. That term is called as a peak inverse voltage. So when you design any rectifier, the voltage rating of the rectifier is decided based on this peak inverse voltage. So peak inverse voltage indicates that how much reverse voltage your diode can be withstand. Clear? So here in this half wave rectifier circuit, your diode come across the maximum reverse voltage is minus ESM. ESM is peak of your supply voltage. So negative of peak of the supply voltage, that is the maximum reverse voltage come across the diode. Clear? So suppose this is a 230 volt, so your diode must be rated at least 230 volt. Clear? So this is all about the operation of half wave rectifier. Now let's see the another terms like average DC load or DC load current. How to derive the equation for the average DC current from this half wave rectifier circuit. So as we see in the waveform that you get the load current IL only during the positive half cycle 0 to pi, and for the pi to 2 pi you get the zero load current. Yeah. So half cycle, first half cycle, your load current is same as your supply. The supply is what? Supply current is suppose I is equal to Im sin omega t. So your load current is also Im sin omega t. Clear? But next half cycle between pi to 2 pi it is 0. So here you can see that the mathematically we can write this equation of load current for this two period. First period is 0 to pi. You get I is equal to Im sin omega t, and between pi to 2 pi you get the 0. So let's derive the equation of average DC current. Yeah, this is a pulsating DC current you get at the output. But what is the average of this DC current? So you can see that here this dotted line shown in this graph that shows the average load or average DC current flowing into this load. Yeah, that we call as IDC. Yeah. So IDC is derived by using this equation. So IDC is equal to 1 upon 2 pi. 2 pi is the period of one cycle that take as a base. Then take the integration of one cycle. Means 0 to pi integration of your load current. Clear? But as you know that you get the load current between only 0 to pi degree, which is Im sin omega t. But pi to 2 pi, your output current or load current is 0. So here in this case, half wave rectifier, you make the integration only up to 0 to pi. Clear? So you can separate this integration into two parts. One is 0 to pi IL d omega t plus integration pi to 2 pi IL d omega t. But here in this case, between pi to 2 pi, your load current is 0. So there is no requirement to take the integration from pi to 2 pi. Clear? So simplify this equation and give me the answer. What is the value of this average DC load current? All of you take the integration of this term and give me the answer of IDC. Here Im is the peak value of load current. Im is peak value of load current, and that is constant. So Im and 2 pi is constant. So Im by 2 pi is constant, and take only integration of this sin omega t. So what is the integration of sin omega t?
Minus cos omega t.
Yes, very good. Minus cos omega t. So here take the integration of minus cos omega t from 0 to pi. Clear? Because you get the output only between 0 to pi. So give me the answer of IDC. So Avash.
Minus Im by pi.
No. See here you take integration only 0 to pi, okay? Here it shows that 0 to 2 pi, but yes?
0. Im
Two
by
I
0.
by
No. It is Im by pi. It is Im by pi. Why? You can see here cos omega t, sin omega t integration is what? Minus cos omega t. Clear? But you take here from 0 to pi. Clear? So minus cos pi, minus plus. So it is plus cos 0. So cos pi is what? Minus 1. So minus cos pi becomes what? Plus 1. And plus cos 0. Cos 0 is 1. Clear? So this term of sin omega t integration from 0 to pi, that becomes 2. So here Im by 2 pi, that is a constant value. So 2 cancel out from numerator and denominator. So final value is that Im by pi. All of you understand this? Yes or no?
yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now, all of you please write down this equation, because this equation will be helpful during the calculation of example. So this is called as the average DC current or DC load current at the output side of the half wave rectifier. First of all, write down this. You get the load current Im sin omega t between 0 to pi, 0 less than or equal to omega t less than or equal to pi, and between pi to 2 pi you get the 0. Then write down the equation IDC is equal to 1 upon 2 pi integration 0 to 2 pi IL d omega t. But here between pi to 2 pi you get the 0. So you take the only integration between 0 to pi only. And this is the final answer Im by pi. So let's see that what is the value of this maximum current flowing into this half wave rectifier circuit. So it is the same as the half wave rectifier circuit, but here it is represented in terms of resistance. So you can see that here the secondary side, this Rs, this represents the secondary winding resistance, and Rf, that is represent the forward resistance, forward conduction resistance of the diode, because your diode itself has internal resistance. Here in this operation, in this waveform, you know that voltage across the diode during the conduction, we draw it is a 0. Clear? Because here we assume that your diode is an ideal diode. Ideal diode have 0 internal resistance when it is conducting. And we assume that it has an infinite resistance when it is not conducting. It means during the reverse bias mode. Clear? So this is the ideal diode we consider during the understand of this waveform. But practically there have some internal resistance that we call as a RF. That is called as a forward resistance of diode. It means when it is conducting, there is some internal resistance, but its value is very small. Okay? So here in the equivalent circuit of this rectifier, we represent this RF during the forward conduction mode. Clear? In the reverse conduction mode, it is very high, and that's why we consider as an open circuit. Clear? Open circuit means very high resistance. That's why current cannot be flow into this part. But here during the forward conduction, RF is resistance of diode, but this value is very small. And RL is your load resistance, or you can assume, suppose your mobile charger is RL, or mobile charger battery has some resistance that called is RL, and the value of this RL is very high as compared to this RS and RF. Okay? So you can sometimes neglect this value of RS and RF as compared to RL. So now if you want to derive the equation of Im, maximum current flowing into this circuit, into the load circuit, so that equation is equal to what? Maximum of your supply voltage. So peak of supply voltage is secondary side is ESM divided by resistance of your circuit. So in this circuit, they have 3 resistance and all are connected in series. So there is addition RS, secondary resistance, secondary winding resistance, RF, your diode resistance during conduction, and RL, that is your load resistance. So your maximum current equation or maximum current value you can derive from this equation if you know the maximum value of supply voltage. Suppose that is 230 volt maximum value, and if you know the value of all these 3 resistance, so you can calculate this maximum value of load current flowing into this circuit. Clear? Now this, as I told you, this RS is a resistance of secondary winding, and suppose this resistance is not given, suppose it is not given in the example, so you can assume it is a 0, or you can neglect this resistance, yeah? Because it is very small. Now, here we derive the equation of average DC current. Now, what is the average DC voltage at the load side? So, as we know, the equation of voltage is equal to what? I into R. So, average DC current into resistance, load resistance, that gives the average DC voltage across the load, across this load. Here it is represented by VDC. You can also represent by EDC also. Clear? So EDC, that is the voltage, average voltage across the load. So that is average current flowing into the load into load resistance I into L. So as you already derived the equation of IDC, average DC current, that is what? Im by pi. So replace this value here, Im by pi. So it is Im by pi into RL. Now we already derived the equation of Im, that is what? ESM divided by RF plus RL plus RS. So again, this replace this value of Im in this equation. So your final equation of average DC voltage, that becomes ESM divided by RF plus RL plus RS into pi and into this RL, load resistance. Clear? So this is the value of average DC voltage. But again, as we know that the value of secondary winding resistance and RF is very small as compared to this load resistance. So if we neglect this RF and RS, or we assume that is 0, so in that case, what is the value of your average DC voltage? That is equal to ESM into RL divided by RL into pi, because RF and RS is assumed 0. So RL is cancel out. So finally you get the answer is ESM divided by pi. Clear? Because RF and RS is 0. So in numerator and denominator, RL term that cancel out, and finally you get the average DC voltage is equal to peak supply voltage divided by pi. Yeah, it is same like your DC current as we derive. Peak value of current divided by pi. All of you understand this concept or this value of average DC current and average DC voltage? Yes or no? All of you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the RMS value of this load current? So RMS value of current we have derived by using this equation. You can see here, that is the square root of 1 upon 2 pi integration 0 to pi square of the load current IL square into d omega t. That is the equation of RMS load current. Clear? So here again, same way, we separate this integration 0 to 2 pi from 0 to pi and pi to 2 pi. Clear? And as we know that between pi to 2 pi we get the 0 value. Yeah. So here, if you take the integration of this and simplify this equation, so you get square root of 1 upon 2 pi integration 0 to pi. IL is replaced by Im sin omega t between 0 to pi, because as we see that we got the current only between 0 to pi, Im sin omega t, this one. So IL is replaced by Im sin omega t. Here it is IL square. So it is Im square into sin square omega t d omega t. And same way take the integration pi to 2 pi, but as you know that you get the 0 value. So this second term becomes 0. Im square is constant. So Im square divided by 2 pi. It's a constant. Then take integration only sin square omega t. And as we know that sin square omega t is what? 1 minus cos 2 omega t divided by 2. So here again 1 by 2 here, that is common. So that becomes Im square divided by 4 pi. So now take only integration of 1 minus cos 2 omega t. So do this integration of 1 minus cos 2 omega t with respect to omega t. So finally you get the RMS value of your load current Im by 2. All of you please verify this. Get this Im by 2 or not. Take integration of 1 minus cos 2 omega t. Integration of 1 is what? Omega t minus integration of cos 2 omega t. What is the integration of cos 2 omega t?
2 sin 2 omega t.
No. Integration.
Sin 2 omega t by 2.
Integration of cos 2 omega t. Okay, this is not a differentiation. Integration is what? Cos 2 omega t, sin 2 omega t divided by 2. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Sin 2 omega t upon 2 omega.
No, it is not 2 omega because you take the integration with respect to omega t, not with respect to time. Okay, so here 2 is a constant
Yes.
in omega t term. Okay, so integration of cos 2 omega t is what? Sin 2 omega t divided by 2 because you take integration with respect to d omega t. If you take here integration with respect to dt, clear, with respect to time, then it is cos sin 2 omega t divided by 2 omega. Clear? But here it is with respect to d omega t, so it is sin 2 omega t divided by 2. Now simplify this and give me the answer of IRMS value. You get this Im by 2 or not? Check it. So omega t of 1 integration is omega t and that is between 0 to pi. So it is pi minus 0. Yes or no? Then same way here sin 2 omega t divided by 2. But 2 is multiplied here with the 2 pi. So it becomes 4 pi. And that is also again 0 to 2 pi. So that is sin 2 pi minus sin 0. So that you know that sin 2 pi and sin 0 both are 0. So finally the integration of this whole term, that is what? Pi. Yes or no? And this pi is cancelled out here. So only remaining term is square root of Im square divided by 4. So come out of the square root, so it becomes Im by 2. Yes or no? All of you get this? आवश्यक है नहीं?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I hope all of you get this value. RMS value of load current. Average value of load current is what? Im by pi. This one. And RMS value of load current is Im by 2. Yeah? Now RMS value of voltage, same like RMS value of current, it is ESM divided by 2. Peak value of supply voltage divided by 2. Yeah. Same like the RMS value of current, which is Im by 2, maximum value divided by 2. Same way RMS value of load voltage, that is maximum value divided by 2. Now let's derive the equation of DC power, which is delivered to the load.
Sir, could you go back to the last slide?
Okay.
Okay, sir.
This is the same equation as we derived last slide. Im by 2. This is the RMS load voltage. ESM divided by 2. Clear? Okay. Next slide. DC power delivered to the load. So we already derived the DC voltage, average DC voltage, and average DC current. That is what? EDC and IDC. So DC power we write as PDC is equal to what? EDC into IDC. EDC is average DC voltage, IDC is average DC current. Clear? Or another way you can also write down I square into R. Here I is IDC. So replace the value of IDC here. So what is the value of IDC? Average DC current નું equation શું હતું હમણાં derive કર્યો આપણે last slide માં?
Im by pi.
Yes, Im by pi. So it is Im square divided by pi square into RL. Yeah. So this is your DC output power equation. Im square divided by pi square into IL. Just replace the IDC by Im by pi. Yes. Now, what is the value of AC input power given to this circuit? So as you know that in the circuit diagram, here we provide the input power from the secondary of the transformer. Clear? And as we know that secondary side or this load side has three resistance. One is secondary winding resistance RS, load resistance RL, and diode resistance RF. Clear? So now what is the AC power input given to this circuit? કેટલો આવશે? Equation શું આવશે? Yes, what is the equation? AC power. So AC power means here we take the equation of I square R. I is what? RMS value of load current or supply current. Both are same because you can see that whatever the supply voltage in positive half cycle, same you get at the load side. Clear? So RMS value of current for half wave that we already derived this Im by 2. So just replace Im by 2 here. Here your supply secondary side of the transformer that supply all these three resistance RL, RS and RL. In the previous slide, we derived this equation of DC power to the load. So load has only resistance RL. So that's why we write here I square into RL, load resistance. But here at the supply side, the supply is provided power to all these three resistors. You can see that current is flowing into all these resistance RS, RF and RL. So supply power to this circuit, that is what? I square into total resistance of the circuit, RL plus RF plus RS. Clear? So that's why it is written like this way, and replace the RMS value of current Im by 2 here. So finally equation of supply power, AC input power through the secondary of the transformer, that becomes Im square divided by 4 into RL plus RF plus RS. Just write down this equation. This is the AC input power. And last one we have a write down PDC, that is a DC output power. So from these two power, what we can find out? If we have output power, if we have input power. So what we can find out for this circuit? Yes? Anyone? Give me the answer.
Efficiency.
Yes, very good. So here we have DC output power and AC input power. So we can find out the efficiency of this half wave rectifier circuit. Clear? Efficiency shows that how much your input power does useful work at the load side. Clear? So let's calculate this efficiency. So rectifier efficiency is that indicates that or tells us that how much percentage of your total input power that is converted into useful DC output power. Clear? So DC power divided by AC power, that is the efficiency of this half wave rectifier circuit. So we already derived the PDC, that is Im square divided by pi square into RL. Clear? And AC power, AC input power, that is Im square divided by 4 RF plus RL plus RS. So here Im square is cancelled out. So finally your efficiency equation becomes 4 by pi square into RL divided by RF plus RL plus RS. So here all this resistance value is becomes what? Suppose here you assume that your RF means diode resistance and source resistance is very less as compared to RL. So what is the equation of efficiency? If you assume RF and RS as 0, almost 0 as compared to RL. So now what is the equation of efficiency?
4 by pi square.
4 by pi square.
It is 4 by pi square. So calculate what is the magnitude of 4 by pi square. What is the efficiency in terms of percentage? Calculate it. What is the value of 4 by pi square?
%.
It is 40.6% accurately, or you can say that almost 40%. Yes or no? But then now 40.6%, 4 by pi square.
Yes.
So what is the meaning of
Yes,
this
sir.
40%? Suppose you provide the 100 watt power at the AC side, input side, only 40 watt power does the useful work at the load side. Clear? It means 60% of your total supply power is waste in this single phase half wave rectifier circuit. So one of this disadvantage of half wave rectifier, we can write poor efficiency. This is the one of the disadvantage of half wave rectifier circuit, because it converts only 40% of your input power into DC power. Clear, all of you? And this is a theoretical efficiency. Clear, because here we assume that diode has no any loss, because here we assume that RF is 0, but in practical circuit RF is not 0. There is some voltage drop across this diode also, there is some internal resistance. So if you consider this RF, then again this efficiency becomes less than this. Clear? So this is the ideal efficiency. Clear? Based under based condition. Under based condition means that we assume that diode is lossless device. It means there is no loss happens. In this condition, you get the maximum efficiency 40.6%. But in practical condition, it is less than this, 30 or 35%. Clear? So this is a poor efficiency of half wave rectifier. That is a disadvantage of the circuit. Now next term is ripple factor. So the ripple factor that indicates the purity of your output DC voltage of a rectifier. It is defined as the ratio of AC component of output wave to the DC component in the wave. And this is the equation of ripple factor. You can write down mathematically like IAC divided by IDC. And mathematically you derive this equation. This is a waveform of ripple. You can see the ripple in the half wave and full wave rectifiers. It is the same like your charging and discharging of your capacitor. It will look like this way. Okay. So this is called as a ripple in your output voltage. This is first for half wave and the second for this full wave rectifier. Now this is the equation of ripple factor. So mathematically, if you derive this IRMS divided by IDC, so finally you get this answer square root of pi square divided by 4 minus 1. If you calculate this, you get 1.211. So this indicates that your output contains, if you convert this in percentage, so that is 121% of your DC component. It means your output contains 121% of ripple as compared to your DC component. Clear? And this ripple factor is very high for half wave rectifier. So this is a second disadvantage you can write for half wave rectifier. So as your ripple factor is high, your rectifier performance is become poor. Clear? So that should be as low as possible. Yeah. So this is another term related to this half wave rectifier circuit. So here I close this. Here I stop this lecture. Next lecture we study the full wave rectifier. Same way all these parameter, average DC voltage, current, ripple factor, and all these things, efficiency. Okay. Is there any doubt in this lecture to anyone? Yes? Anyone?